Okay, good morning. To introduce my message today, this is the first I've seen this. I don't know what's going on here. The Today Show. Okay, the Kids Today Show. I'm starting the message this morning just by interviewing a few kids. So, could my special guests please make their way to the stage now and grab a chair? Now, you know what? I reckon that their parents are more nervous than them. All right. Okay, so we've got here Ellis, Holly, Seth and Millie. And so I'm just going to ask them a few questions about their mums. Now, Tim, are their microphones on? Yes. They are. Okay, so if you guys want to grab your microphones. Have you all got one? Oh, there's only two. Okay. So we're going to have to pass them, are we? Okay. All right. So you're going to have, Ellis, you're going to share with Holly, and Seth and Millie, you're going to have to share a microphone when it's your turn to speak. Is that okay? Yeah, good. All right, so the first question I have for you is, I've already answered it for you, but we'll ease into this. So what is your name? Can you tell everyone your name?
Ellis.
You're Ellis? And pass on the microphone.
Holly.
Holly.
Seth. Millie.
Excellent. All right, next question. What is your mum's name?
Jess. Kate. Novita. Emma.
Lovely. Thank you very much. And thank you to the mums for being good sports and playing along with this. I take no responsibility for what happens next. Now, Ellis, how old is your mum?
36 years old.
36. How old's your mum, Holly?
40.
She's 40, okay.
I think 44.
You think 44?
36.
36, wow, okay, excellent. Right, next question. What is your mum's favourite food? If you don't know the answer, it's okay to say I did.
I would say lasagna.
Lasagna. Oh, yeah, that's yummy. Yep, excellent.
Coffee.
Coffee. You know what? I think you've probably nailed that one. Now.
I think some Indonesian food.
Some Indonesian food.
I know it's Indonesian. Ice cream.
Ice cream. Yum. All right. What is your mum really good at?
She works at Rail First.
She what, sorry?
She works at Rail First.
She works at Rail First.
She makes trains with my dad.
She what?
She makes trains with my dad.
She makes trains?
Yes.
Wow.
She works in the office as well.
Wow.
My mummy's really good at doing the workout yoga thingy.
Cool. Love it.
My mum is good at making cakes.
Making cakes. She is good at making cakes. Do you know, she made me a cake for my 40th birthday, actually. It was an amazing cake.
My mum is good at being funny.
She's good at being funny. All right. What makes your mum laugh?
When I tell jokes.
What do you reckon, Holly? What makes your mum laugh? Not sure? That's okay. What about you, Seth?
I don't know.
You don't know. Millie?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I'm the only one who answered.
Oh, you're the only one that answered. Yep, you get an extra star for that one. What does your mum say when you're in trouble?
Stop hurting your brother.
What about you, Holly? What does your mum say when you're in trouble? You don't know. Okay. What about you, Seth?
I don't know as well.
You don't know? What about you, Millie? What happens if you're in trouble? We got an answer here.
Separate.
Separate. Often involves siblings, doesn't it? Okay. What's your mum's favourite thing to do? Anyone can think it? What's your mum's favourite thing she loves to do?
Maybe cooking.
Cooking. Okay.
My auntie loves cooking.
Your auntie loves cooking. Okay, that's great. What about you, Holly? What does your mum love to do?
Drink coffee.
Drink coffee. Yep. At least the answers are consistent. So we're building a pattern here, okay? Seth, what does your mum love to do?
Watch YouTube with me.
She watches YouTube with you.
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. All right, so this is a hypothetical question, okay? So you have to think about this one. But if I gave you $1 million, right? Imagine that. I gave you $1 million. How much of that would you give to your mum? I give you $1 million, right? And you can do whatever you want with it. How much would you give to your mum?
I love my mum so much, I would give her all of it.
Oh. All right. You have enough you have everything you need. Oh, wow. Okay, Holly, how much would you give to your mum? Not sure? What about you, Seth? Have you got an idea of how much you give to your mum?
I'll just give half.
Give half, yeah. Excellent. What? Just out of interest, Seth, what would you do with the other half?
I'll probably spend some time.
Spend some
time with my mother.
Okay, yep. What would you do with the other half of the money? If I gave you $1 million, you give $500,000 to her, what are you going to do with the other $500,000? What would you buy?
Buy cars. Hey.
Nice.
Get a Lamborghini.
A Lamborghini. Hey, you just gave all your money to your mum. You can't talk. Right. Millie, what about you? What would you do if you had $1 million? How much would you give to your mum?
All of it.
Oh, and why is that?
Because I love her.
Because you love her. Wow. And so my final question to these kids, how much do you love your mum? How much do you love your mum?
To the moon and back.
To the moon and back. What about you, Holly?
More than the whole universe.
Oh.
A lot.
A lot.
To the moon and back.
To the moon and back as well. Can you thank my wonderful guests this morning? You guys may now head off to Kids Church. Thank you, guys. You know, I thought this could go very, very bad, and it didn't. So I'm very grateful for that. The chairs? Yeah, we might get rid of the chairs. Not for my purpose, but for afterward. That was actually really tame. Well, there we go. I wasn't really sure what was going to happen, but I think what we would all agree with from hearing from those kids there, that all those kids are saying basically they have a loving mum. And you know, there's only one thing better than a loving mum, and I believe that that is a godly mum. And there are many examples of godly mums in the Bible. We've got Sarah, mother of Isaac. Hannah, mother of Samuel. Mary, of course, mother of Jesus. The list goes on and on. And then there's this a little bit more obscure one called Jochebed. And we go back 14th century BC, go back a long time. Jochebed was married to Amram. And Jochebed had 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter. And in Numbers 26:59 it says, Amram and Jochebed became the parents of Aaron, Moses, and their sister Miriam. Miriam was the oldest, followed by Aaron, and 3 years later, baby Moses. And it's really a good thing for us to look at this story and to see what happened to Jochebed's kids. So we know that Miriam was her oldest and her only daughter, and Miriam goes on to be, as it says in Exodus, a prophet. Aaron, the middle child, says in Exodus 28:1, God says to Moses, call for your brother Aaron and his sons Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. Set them apart from the rest of the people of Israel so they may minister to me and be my priests. Aaron became the first high priest of Israel. His son, Eleazar, that later becomes the second high priest. And then there's the youngest child, whom they called Moses. Moses goes on to be the leading figure in the Old Testament. The writer of the Torah, or the Pentateuch as we would call it, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. The man who led Israel from slavery. The man who received the 10 Commandments from God on Mount Sinai. The greatest of prophets. The only person in the Old Testament that personally sees God face to face. So Jochebed is the mother of a prophet, the first high priest, and the leader of the Israelites. Now, I don't know about you, but when I look at that resume, I go, she must have done something right. She must have done something right. What did she do? Well, I want to briefly look at that this morning. Really briefly. What did Jochebed do? And the first thing it's hard to go past is the fact that she trusted God. It says in Exodus 2, about this time, a man and woman from the tribe of Levi got married. The woman became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She saw that he was a special baby and kept him hidden for 3 months. Now, obviously, most mums think that their babies are special, right? Is that true? My mum thinks that her kids are super special. And it's really, really embarrassing. And over the years and the decades, it has been a source of pain for me, to be honest. I always get wasn't he good? Did you know he's my son? Isn't he amazing? You know, it's that sort of my mum's sort of, my son is special, is that type of a special that only a parent says is special, if that makes sense. This is not the type of special, by the way, that Jochebed saw in Moses. In Hebrews 11:23, it says, it was by faith that Moses' parents hid him for 3 months when he was born. They saw that God had given them an unusual child. Now, I am also unusual, don't get me wrong. However, not unusual in a weird way like me. This was unusual. She could see there was something in this child that was actually, she realised that there was something greater that was going to happen. She saw that Moses was special to God, not just to her. She knew that God had a special purpose for him. And so she went to great lengths to keep him hidden from Pharaoh after his birth. It says in verse 3, but when she could no longer hide him, she got a basket made of papyrus reeds and waterproofed it with tar and pitch. She put the baby in the basket and laid it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile River. She put her precious child in a floating vessel and just let him drift out on the Nile. Can you imagine doing that? She really was trusting God in that situation. What did she do? Why did she do this? Why would she put this baby on the Nile River? Well, to start with, she was sort of being obedient to the law. In Exodus 1, it says that then Pharaoh gave the order to all his people, throw every newborn Hebrew boy into the Nile River, but you may let the girls live. So Pharaoh made a law that Hebrew boys had to go into the Nile. And she obeyed, sort of. But rather than throw him in the Nile, she put him in a basket and she placed him on the Nile. So in doing so, she trusted that God would protect her baby. And he did. You know, a godly mum's most precious possession is her kids. Godly mums do all that they can to protect their kids. I think all mums do everything they can to protect them. They love and they nurture them. But for every single mum, there comes a time that you actually have to let your kids go. It happens to all. And you have to trust, at that point that you let them go, that the Lord will protect them. She just did that very, very early on. But that's not all that she did. So yes, there was an element of trust. In her putting that baby on the Nile, she trusted that God would do something because she knew that there was something different about this child. But the second thing she did is that she served God. It says in verse 4-6, the baby's sister then stood at a distance, that's Miriam, watching to see what would happen to him. Soon, Pharaoh's daughter came down to bathe in the river, and her attendants walked along the riverbank. When the princess saw the basket among the reeds, she sent her maid to get it for her. When the princess opened it, she saw the baby. The little boy was crying, and she felt sorry for him. This must be one of the Hebrew children, she said. By putting her baby in a basket on the Nile River, she was truly placing the child in God's hands. But she knew that it was for a purpose. She knew that there was something going on that God had in store for this kid, so that she trusted that God would not abandon this child and that he would guide the basket that she put him in. In verse 7-10 it says, this is what happened. Then the baby's sister Miriam approached the princess. Should I go and find one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you, she said. Yes, do, the princess replied. So the girl went, but she went and got the boy's mother. Take this baby and nurse him for me, the princess told the baby's mother. I will pay you for your help. So the woman took her baby home and nursed him. Later, when the boy was older, his mother brought him back to Pharaoh's daughter, who adopted him as her own son. The princess named him Moses, for she explained, I lifted him out of the water. Not only did Jochebed's baby live, not only did she end up getting to raise her own son, but she got paid for doing it. How many mothers here would like to get paid for raising their kid? Jochebed served God by raising her babies in the ways of God. And we should never underestimate the power of a baby when it comes to the things of God. It is amazing the number of times in the Bible when God is doing something big, that big thing is centered around a baby. Think about it. How often does that happen? And the greatest example, of course, is the birth of Jesus. Everything is centered around a baby. And in this case, it's no different. You know, what is the weapon that God uses with Pharaoh and the Egyptians first? It is a baby's tears. That's the weapon. Look at this. When the princess saw the basket among the reeds, she sent her maid to get it for her. When the princess opened it, she saw the baby. The little boy was crying, and it impacted her. She felt sorry for him. A baby's tears got to her. God used a baby's tears to connect Moses with a princess, which in turn gave him favour down the track with the ruler of the land and enabled him to grow. He grew up surrounded by leadership in the Pharaoh's house. A man that would go on to be a leader needed to be developed as a leader. He was surrounded by incredible leadership, which would have been completely useless to the enslaved Israelites if Moses didn't also have a heart for the Israelites. But he did have a heart for them because he was raised by one of them, his mum. He had a strong connection to them and a strong connection to God because of Jochebed. She raised him in the ways of God, and he never forgot what his mum taught him. He never forgot it. And so he desired to serve God. He desired to help God's people. And the third thing that Jochebed did, she loved God. Now, a relative of mine, I'm going to be careful how I put this today, but a relative of mine had a baby when she was 17 in the 1970s in a country town in South Australia. And it brought enormous shame to the family. And as soon as they found out she was pregnant, they took her away. She disappeared for 12 months. And 12 months later, she came back without the baby. The baby was adopted out. She never saw the baby again until a few years ago. That baby now would be in their 50s. It would have been the most painful thing for her to have to do, to part with her baby. Jochebed had to do it twice. The first time she gave him up is when she placed him on the Nile. And the second time, she gave him up to Pharaoh's daughter to be raised by people that didn't love God. But she would have found it a little easier than my relative because Jochebed loved God so much, she gave up her son knowing that it was actually God's will. She actually knew there was some reason for this, and God blessed her for it. She gave Moses up, and as the story says, Moses was returned to her. Every other Hebrew baby boy was in the Nile, but she was allowed to nurse him. In biblical times, nursing could last for 5 years, a long time. Something we don't even want to contemplate now, but they would give them even their own milk for up to 5 years, or they would have a wet nurse or something that would come and do that for a significant period of time. Jochebed would have been Moses' first teacher. She would have been sitting him down and telling him the things that she felt were important. She would have taught him about loving God and loving people, and this is something that Moses never forgot. We go back to Hebrews 11. It was by faith that Moses, when he grew up, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He chose to share the oppression of God's people instead of enjoying the fleeting pleasures of sin. He thought it was better to suffer for the sake of Christ than to own the treasures of Egypt. For he was looking ahead to his great reward. It was by faith that Moses left the land of Egypt, not fearing the king's anger. He kept right on going because he kept his eyes on the one who is invisible. At some point, he had to make a call. I can stay here with all the wealth and the power of Egypt. But his mother had instilled things in him that he decided, no, I'm going to go the way of my people. Gave up all that stuff to help free a nation. And this story has personal relevance to me. It's actually quite relevant because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my mum. I really wouldn't. I grew up in I'll keep this very short, quite dysfunctional home where things at home were not good between my parents. In fact, they were very bad. And one day, my mum found Jesus. I think I was 5. And my dad hated that. He thought that was a terrible idea. And so she would still drag me along to kids' church as a 5-year-old, 6-year-old. And he would let her know all about it. You know, it wasn't pretty, but she did it anyway. She kept going. She kept going with it. When my dad wasn't home, she'd sneak the pastor around and pray on his pillow. We don't do that here, by the way, but yeah, she was desperate. She did whatever she could. And he once threatened to bash up the pastor, actually, so if he saw him again. So things were not very good there. But my mum just continued to sow things into myself, my brother, and my sister. And today, all 3 of them are going on for God. My dad got miraculously saved about 4 years later. Threw everything away, said, that's it, I'm just going to serve God. Sold his house, sold everything. Went around ministering, was then a pastor for the next 35 years. All because my mum, it started with her. And the things that she put into us, and he saw the change in her life as well. And over time he realised, it's not working. Life is not working. But I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my mum. And the story of Moses really shows the power of a godly mum. A mother who wholeheartedly trusted God, even with her most precious things, her kids' lives. A mother who wholeheartedly served God, even risking her own life. It was risky, because she was not really doing what the Egyptians had told her, what Pharaoh told her she had to do. She was sort of breaking the law. She knew she was meant to throw him in. She didn't. She took a risk. Had they noticed that she'd done that deliberately, she would have been in big trouble. But she did it to ensure that God's chosen one would reach his destiny. She was a mother who encouraged a love for God and his people. Not only in Moses' life, but obviously in the life of Miriam and Aaron as well. And the most powerful part of this story is that despite all that happens to Moses, Moses never lost his love for God or people, despite everything that happened. He didn't use that as an excuse as to why he didn't do this or that. He continued to love God and people despite things that took place in his life. And there'll be mums here today. Can I get the worship team to come? They can start to slowly make their way. There'll be mums here today that may have mixed feelings about this message. Some of you are easily going to be able to relate to it. You can say, yep, you've trusted God, you served God, you loved God, and now your kids are following God. And it's easy when you see something like Proverbs 22:6, which says, direct your children on the right path, and when they're older, they will not leave it. And for some people, that is so true. For many families, it's a Mother's Day present that probably never ends to know that your kids are following the Lord. But the reality is, this is not a guarantee. This is a principle. It's not always the case that this is true. Your kids still have free choice. And there are some of us here who have taught our kids to love God, and yet the kids have still chosen of their own accord to wander off the path. And to those mums here today that can relate to that, I like Jeremiah 24:7. It says, I will give them hearts that recognize me as the Lord. They'll be my people and I'll be their God, for they will return to me wholeheartedly. It's not a guarantee, but it's something to pray about. It's something to hold on to. It's something to believe and pray for. And finally, there are those mums here who maybe weren't Christians when their kids were young. And they know this today, and they know that the way that they raised their kids may not have been great for their kids. Well, I want to suggest to you this morning that if that's you, I want to suggest to you that you haven't failed. Even if that was you, that you know that the way that you raised them when you were younger was not in the ways of God. I would say today you have not failed. I would say on the contrary, what you've done is you've probably started something that may leave a legacy for generations to come, because your kids knew what you were like without God in your life. But if your kids are still around and they now see you with God in your life, they can see the difference. Right? It's not all lost. They can see the difference that God has made in your life, and this will have a powerful impact on them even as adults. So the simple message I get from Jochebed is trust God, serve God, love God. Trust God, serve God, love God. It's a really relevant message for mums. I'd say it's an equally important message for dads. It's not, even though it's Mother's Day, it's just as important that you trust God, serve God, love God. It's even if you're not a mum or a dad, it's an equally important message to trust God, serve God, and love God. It's really for all of us. Can I ask you to stand? Let's just pray. Lord, I thank you for the life of Jochebed. Such an unassuming person, but what an incredible woman of God. The fact that she trusted you, served you, and loved you in the way that she did has spoken. It spoke volumes to Moses, Miriam, and Aaron. But the countless billions of people it's spoken to since, as a result of what she did in the lives of her kids and what they went on to do for the rest of humanity. Lord, I thank you for that incredible woman. And Lord, I pray this morning for every woman here. Lord, may the things that they do, the way that they trust you, serve you and love you, may that speak volumes into the children and other people in their lives. As they just do the things that you call them to do, Lord, may it speak to others. May it be an inspiration to others. May it be encouraging. May it be uplifting. May it spur them on to want to do things for you, Lord. May it spur them on to put away other things and serve you. To put away other things and love you. To not trust in themselves, but to trust you. So I thank you for the great example that we have in this room of so many women and I know so many of them here, and there's so many incredible stories of sacrifice, of love, of hurt, of pain. But I pray that all of their stories, Lord, point people toward you. So Lord, I just pray that you bless each mother here this morning. May the things that they do leave a lasting legacy for generations to come. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.